When I was young, I had a dream of one day becoming a world-famous ballet dancer. Now, having achieved that and danced on some of the greatest stages around the world, I find it absolutely fascinating how many people share that exact same dream. This is an exploration of the emergence of classical ballet in the most unlikely places. I'm traveling the world to talk to people in these countries who are passionate about this art form.
I would like to welcome you here at the wonderful Dutch National Opera and Ballet. I'm Jozef Varga, principal dancer with the company. Today I will be talking to Casey Hurd, my friend, former colleague and founder of Ballet Rising. Casey, welcome back on stage.
Thanks, man. Great to be here.
So Casey, how does it feel to be back on stage? It's been a while.
It's been a long while. It's great. I mean, you know, yeah, it was a huge part of my life for a really long time. But it's just nice to be back in here with, you know, so many people that I know and in a familiar house. And, you know, this is one of the great opera houses of Europe and the world. You know, the Dutch National Ballet and opera are legendary companies, you know, renowned from around the world. So it's great to be back here. It's really nice.
Great to see you and
yeah.
Great to have this opportunity to sit here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you stopped ballet at like what, 4 years ago-ish?
Yeah, well, I retired from the company 4.5 years ago. But I continued to dance a little bit longer, about 2 years, just kind of doing my own little thing, doing some guestings and stuff like that. So it's been about 2.5 years since I've stepped on the stage and actually really performed, other than Nutcracker last year, doing the Drosselmeyer, which was really fun.
Well, yeah, I remember that. Always wonderful to see you on stage.
Yeah, I mean, I try to get a little opportunity to get back on the stage whenever I can.
I'm sure. So tell us a little bit more about what happened after you stopped dancing. I mean, you started a new project, Ballet Rising. It's very exciting. I've seen some of the videos that you've made with different artists, dancers from around the world. But somehow, as we were talking before, we don't have your story. So we would like to know a little bit more about your story eventually. But first, how about Ballet Rising? What is the project?
Yeah, well, it all kind of came about right after I stopped dancing, or when I left the company. You know, I retired from ballet, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with my life just yet, and I didn't want to rush into saying, okay, this is what I want to do just because I needed something. You know, I wanted to take some time to really explore myself and what are my passions, what are my skills and things like that. And you know, there's always the debate, do I stay in the ballet world, do I try and go somewhere outside of it? Mainly the only thing I really wanted to do at that time was travel. I love traveling. Everybody who knows me knows how much I love to travel.
Yeah, I do know that.
Yeah, so I mean, when I retired, I just thought, you know, I wanted to go places where I never went during my ballet career. You know, when you're a dancer, you do lots of galas in New York, you know, London, Paris, things like that. You know, we go to those places frequently. I wanted to get out into places like Africa and India and Latin, you know, deep into rural places in Latin America, because I just find them fascinating. You know, beautiful landscapes, incredible cultures and stuff. And those are places that ballet, as a dancer, you never really go to very often, you know.
Well, yeah, there is these odd performances here and there, but mainly it's not on the main scope of ballet, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite on the periphery. So I did. I decided to take, you know, basically a year off of life and just travel around the world.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was great.
And you made it as your business in the end of the end?
Yeah, starting to. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, as I was traveling, I would, you know, go to these places, and I found out, you know, sometimes there were ballet schools in places where I kind of never thought there would be a ballet school, and so I'd contact them, and, you know, I do enjoy teaching. I don't really picture myself becoming a teacher, like a full-time ballet teacher in a professional academy. But teaching is something I do enjoy doing. I teach adult classes here in Amsterdam a lot, and I love doing it. I love the people I work with and stuff like that. So, you know, I just figured out after a while, you know, I contacted a friend of mine, well, she's a friend of mine now, a woman who has a ballet school in India. And I said, hey, can I come and teach? And she was like, yeah, that'd be great. And I was looking to sort of make a little bit of money on the side to do it as well.
I mean, you still have to survive somehow.
Yeah.
I mean,
plane tickets, hotels, yeah, they're not cheap.
Just so that everybody knows, when you stop dancing, it's not like you still have a steady income.
Yeah.
It's all gone.
Yeah.
You're done and finished, and that's a difficult part of, I suppose, every dancer's life. When you stop dancing, suddenly you have to kind of reinvent yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I was living off of my savings. I saved up money to say, okay, I want to take a year off of life and just travel. And yeah, so I kind of figured that this was going to be sort of a reoccurring thing. I'd love to go and teach and work with these schools and companies, but they don't have money. You know, they're in rural places around the world where there is no government support. There's not much recognition from local businesses, and their culture kind of looks at ballet like, what is that? You know,
yeah,
a little bit.
They mainly don't know much about it. I mean, even in Europe, where we think like, okay, everybody knows ballet and everybody's kind of acquainted with it, it's not really that
it's
high
still
on the
very,
roster of things.
Yeah.
And so I can imagine that in countries like India or Africa, it's
yeah.
barely on any kind of list.
Yeah. Well, the surprising thing is it actually is. Like, people do recognize it, and even though it hasn't achieved a huge level of recognition and things like support, people do recognize it, and there are a lot more of these schools and companies and communities around the world who do really appreciate ballet and really want to be a part of the global ballet community. And so I was like, okay, you know, I think this is what I want to do. I want to go places to places around the world that are far away from traditional ballet-centric communities, and see what I can do to help them thrive and grow and build and ultimately bring the global ballet community closer together.
Because for now what we see is actually some online content, interviews, and some articles from around the world. But it's ultimately just a small beginning, I'm guessing, from what there is a lot more to come to help people to communicate with each other and improve their dancing and feeling of community within the global dance world, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, we're starting off really small. So I mean, obviously, right now we're just doing media, basically about the subject. I mean, because you know, once in a while you'll see in the BBC the young talented boy in Nigeria that was doing all the cone turns in the rain. You do kind of see this a little bit in the media here and there. So basically, I want Ballet Rising to be that media project that only focuses on that. Okay, what's happening with classical ballet in Botswana? What's happening with classical ballet in Laos? You know, Bolivia? You know, what's happening in the ballet world outside of the main center? You know, how are these people affecting our the art form? How is the art form affecting them? You know.
Okay. I'm guessing, I mean, you went to slums in Brazil, and you've been to many, let's say, challenging environments, and everywhere there is ballet. It's really amazing. And yeah, I mean, ballet itself is challenging, and then it comes, I mean, even for us, I think, we were facing our own challenges within different boundaries when we were starting off and becoming ballet dancer. Becoming a male ballet dancer is also not always, let's say, so well regarded or easy in some places.
Even in ballet-centric societies.
Yes, or ballet-centric. I mean, I don't, well, there is maybe some societies that are ballet-centric, but there is not such a brand, I would say, even around the world about this. So how was your beginning? How do you identify yourself? How did you find out about dance, about ballet, when you were young?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I was a very quiet, extremely introverted kid. My parents and a lot of my school teachers were very worried about me because I didn't interact with other kids. I didn't socialize. I was very scared of everyone and everything, and you know, my mom was like, okay, what are we gonna do? You know, I was a very good artist because all I did was sit there and draw pictures all day long. I was failing school. You know, I had very few friends, and people just thought, you know, there's something wrong with him. And my mom was like, let's see what we can do. I would take my younger sister to ballet classes on public transit. And my mom was like, well, as long as you're there, why don't you take some classes and maybe it'll, you know, help you. And so I was like, all right, sure. I mean, I was on some levels, I was always scared of people, but to try new things, I was very open and ready to do it. And so I was like, yeah, let's try some ballet.
So you were scared of people. You were afraid of talking or communicating much with your surroundings. You were kind of introverted in your own little artistic world. And then you decide to do ballet and stand on stage in front of thousands of people, perform live. And now you are doing interviews with people around the world live. I mean, that's a big step.
Strange twist.
Is that, would you say that it has to do something with ballet? Did ballet bring, open that shell and spectrum of possibilities for you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as soon as I got into ballet class, I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. You know, I did enjoy it. And I liked watching it sometimes. I went and saw Nutcracker once. And, you know, at first you go to the Nutcracker, you're like, oh gosh, I'm going to go see ballet. And then you watch it and you're like, oh, actually, that's kind of cool. You know?
All right, all right.
And one thing led to another. Like, you know, I just suddenly found an activity that I like to do. And there's a whole studio full of other kids that like to do it as well. And it just sort of helped open me up. And I suddenly came out of my shell and found, you know, who I want to be, and I found a group of people that I like to be with, and so that's where the whole community thing comes from. I found a community of people that I identified with. It wasn't just an art form. I mean, we all love to dance, and we love to watch it, we love to do it, but it was the group of people that kind of that made me feel like, oh wow, you know.
So you felt welcome into this world.
I felt welcome. I felt myself. I felt like this is a place where I can really be myself and take myself to another level and go somewhere with it.
Okay. But I imagine at the time you also had some other friends from outside, boys that didn't do ballet, or you didn't?
A couple, yeah. I mean, I was very, like I said, socially introverted kid. There was a couple other socially introverted kids that
you were socially introverted together.
We were sort of that group of little kids that everyone was like, oh, they're weird.
Okay,
and then they found out I did ballet.
Oh, that must have helped the situation even further.
Yeah, my popularity went through the roof.
Oh man. Well, you know, there are challenges I know from my personal experience as well. I mean, being a ballet dancer is, you know, not always easy, even if you are in America, and you know.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, people will look at you with a strange eye. I mean, for women, it's more, let's say, common. You know, like little girls dream of becoming a ballerina, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't really go with the male kind of stereotype really well.
Yeah.
So it comes with, different set of challenges,
well,
I guess.
And I grew up, I have to say, like, I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, and we had a great ballet company. Ballet West is a phenomenal ballet company, and it was even when I was a kid. But at the same time, I was a little kid, and I was looking at things, and I felt like I was in this provincial little city way out in the western part of the United States in the desert, you know, and I was miles and miles away from the lights and the artistry of New York and Paris and London and stuff. And so from my perspective, I really saw myself as living in this little village in the middle of the desert, you know. And everybody knows Utah. It's much more famous for cowboys than it is for ballet dancers.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But I mean, there is still like, there is out and there is out.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, you still had a ballet company.
Yeah.
You were still in a city. I mean, you could have been, I don't know, in the middle of the desert somewhere.
Well, that's the thing that's also really sort of ties into why I'm really passionate about Ballet Rising. Is, you know, when I was a kid, I felt like it was a provincial little city and it was far away from New York. Now I've grown up, you know, and I'm looking at things going, okay, actually I was quite fortunate, you know, to have had Ballet West and those dancers in that company that really helped me a lot. You know, they were big role models for me, and you know, just the community in Salt Lake City is just a phenomenal community. So now I look at it and I'm like, wow, I was actually really blessed.
But was it easy for you to go like to ballet class? Was it easy access for your, let's say, family to be able to afford the education and to do all of the necessities? I mean, it's not always, not for everybody is the same, you know? Some people have, or some countries have an easy access to social support and, or are have wealthy families, and some just don't. So how was it for you?
It was a big challenge. You know, I grew up with a single mom.
Wow.
I love my dad. He's a great human being. But you know, there was a lot of tension between my dad and my mom, and so there was a big separation. And for one reason or another, myself and my brother and sisters got caught in the middle. And so yeah, it was just a tough situation. My mom was single. She didn't have a college education, so we were really struggling to get by. We were living on government support. You know, there was a lot of tough times growing up when I was a kid. But you know, my uncle helped me a lot. My uncle was an opera singer with the Metropolitan Opera, and you know, he was very supportive of me doing ballet, and he helped me originally pay for some ballet classes. And my dad, you know, in the beginning, he was like, "You're going to do ballet," you know, of course, to his credit. But no, he came around and he was like, "All right, you know, this is what you want to do, so I support you." So, you know, things were tough. Things were difficult. It wasn't always easy. I had to get a lot of scholarships. I always had to get scholarships where I went. Otherwise, there was no way.
I understand you.
But, you know, my family came through and they helped. And, you know, like I said, Salt Lake City is one of the best communities in the world. If you're going to grow up, I read some study a while ago that it's still number 3 in the world for upward mobility. And so the community in Salt Lake City has a great support for people and arts and social issues and things like that.
That's nice that eventually your family did embrace your decision of becoming a ballet dancer, and you got that support. But it's not as easy as it seems. I mean,
it was hard.
Yeah, but when I look at you today, you know, like you're a principal dancer. You were a principal dancer of multiple companies in the world. You come from US. You know, like I can say, you know, that's a privilege to be so, but it's not always easy. I've been discovering a bit more about your story. It was just very recently. I didn't know any of that, how difficult it was for you to growing up. I suppose that relationship between your parents also, in a way, probably caused some of that introversion, logically speaking.
Yeah.
And emerging through all that and getting to ballet, it's not a simple one-way street. Like, you know, we do label people. We look at people and we label them naturally. That's how, unfortunately, life works. And I was really touched when I first heard about your story and your difficulties in a way. But I suppose it also made you stronger. And I guess from that part probably comes your willingness to help others.
Yeah.
And how did you actually make that? Because there is a big step. There is that one thing that is difficult to start ballet. I'm guessing you started in an amateur ballet school.
Yeah.
And from that point, how did you make? Well, there are 2 big steps really in a pretty much career of any dancer. You have the first step of getting to a more recognized professional school, which can get you, you know, to the top, and then getting a job. How did you go through those 2 steps in your life?
Yeah, well, yeah, so I was studying in Salt Lake City, you know, and things were going really well. I was having a good time in Ballet West, but, you know, my mom knew me. She knew I had bigger ambitions. I was constantly dreaming about moving to New York and joining American Ballet Theater.
Oh, really?
And that was my goal, you know, since I think it was about 14 when I was like, okay, I want to be a professional ballet dancer. You know?
14, and ABT and?
ABT. I wanted to be Baryshnikov.
Okay,
and that's where Baryshnikov danced, so okay, that's where I go.
Yeah, so I go where he goes, yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, my mom was like, okay, well, I think, you know, if you really want to do that, you need to get closer to New York, and you need to maybe just focus on your studying a little bit more. And so yeah, I went to Washington, D.C. to study at the Kirov Academy.
Oh, I heard it's a wonderful school.
Great school. My teachers were phenomenal. I loved it, and they were tough. They were tough as nails. I mean, Yeah.
Yeah, we know where they come from.
Yeah. So they were great, and I had a great time there. I learned a lot. I worked like crazy. I met a lot of other, my classmates. You know, I came from a great class. You know, I think all of us got into a professional company, which is unheard of, an entire class of students. And most of us became principals and soloists with major ballet companies around the world. So it was a great environment to be in. And also just to be in close proximity to New York, so I could go up to New York once in a while and take class with ABT.
But how was your situation during this time? Like, because let's say you were that not so popular kid at school when you were really young and socially awkward. Has that already changed by then? Like, did you open up? Did you cultivate really friends, or you were still kind of?
Yeah, I was still in that
on
process
the sidelines.
Still in that process of opening up, and also I was separate. Most of the kids in the school were living in the dorms. They were, you know, the kids were from Korea, from Romania.
Yeah.
You know, it was an international school, and I was living with my mom.
Ah, so your mom moved with you?
Yeah, my mom and my younger sister and I moved to Washington DC. DC, because my younger sister was also studying.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and it was great. But again, my mom didn't have a job. We didn't have any money, so we were living in. I was 16 years old, and I was living in a one bedroom. We were renting a bedroom from a family.
So you were living, all three of you,
yeah.
in one room?
Yeah, for about a year and a half when I was 16, yeah.
At 16, that's, let's say, pretty awkward.
Yeah, I had my little roll-out mattress on the side of the room, and my mom and my sister slept on the bigger mattress right next to us, and so we did that for about a year and a half.
Wow,
yeah.
Respect to your mom.
Yeah, I know.
And, I mean,
She's
I
a
don't
saint.
know. How did you survive that one? Wow.
It wasn't easy, but you know, we had our goals. My mom knew what she wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to do, and my sister knew what she wanted to do. So there was tough times, you know, especially when you're a teenage boy and trying to grow up and become your own, and your mom's, you know, sleeping in the same bedroom as your mom and your sister. Of course, it's tough. But you know, we all had our goals. We knew what we wanted to do. We knew how we wanted to do it. So we kind of we stayed pretty focused. And
wow, but still.
And
hats off. I mean, that's power of love and family, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so, you finished in DC. You graduated, I'm guessing, and then what was the next step?
Go to ABT.
and they took you.
Yeah, they took me, surprisingly.
Well, I'm guessing that's a dream come true, right?
Yeah, it was amazing. I was just talking to Julio Boca, you know, one of the greatest ballet dancers of his generation, the other day. And I was telling him the story about the first day. I just got my contract with ABT. I was going to be an apprentice, and you know, I came in, and I was walking around the building, kind of, you know, stars in my eyes, like oh. But it didn't really hit me until I turned the corner and I looked in the room, and it was just a studio. I can't remember which studio it was, but it was Julio Boca and Alessandra Ferri rehearsing Romeo and Juliet, and that was the moment where I was like, boom. I'm in ABT.
yeah, that would kind of do it to anybody, I guess.
Yeah, it was just, that was such an incredible moment.
Wow.
So yeah, I got there, it was great. I mean, I spent a year in the studio. Well, I was an apprentice for a year.
Okay.
Or for half a year. I got in the studio company, and that was a phenomenal experience. I loved it. I was a bit disappointed at first. I didn't want to be in the studio company. You know, everybody wants to go straight into the main company. But,
of course.
But it ended up being an incredible experience. John Meehan was the director, and I loved working with him. He was just a real good inspiration and fun person to be with, and just, you know, taught me a lot about several things.
And how was the community within this time? Like, how were your colleagues? Did you have a good time there?
In the studio company, it was great.
Yeah? Was it fun?
Yeah, I loved it, you know. And that was the same as school, you know. It was just a great group of people, you know, a great group of friends. And it's a small company. I think there was like, what, 10 of us, 12 of us, something like that.
Yeah, it's like the junior company here, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, it was just a small group of dancers. We were all just starting out, trying to get into the main company. And so we had a great camaraderie. We worked like crazy from sun up to sundown. It was just like boom, boom, boom. That was the best time in my life for just working, you know.
I hear your excitement. Wow, okay. And did you guys all make it to the main company, or how did it work?
No, they took 3 of us.
So from like 10 dancers?
Yeah,
10
yeah.
Female
and
no,
sorry, 4 of us. They took 4 of us.
4 of you.
Yeah. So we got another apprenticeship for just the Met season, and then after that, I got my core contract.
So you got your core contract.
Got in the main company.
But then you still decided to leave eventually, right? I mean,
Yeah, I left pretty quickly. Yeah, I was just talking to a friend of mine about that the other day, and it was, you know, it was, I still was, I was pretty much dazzled by the big lights of the city. And because in the studio company, we were just working nonstop, so you didn't really, we partied, we were teenagers.
Come on.
We partied. But there wasn't that much time and energy for partying, you know. We worked and you worked and you worked, and by the time you got home, you were destroyed. And
yeah, I can imagine.
once I got into the main company, you know, there was just nothing to do. You know, for a first-year kid in the corps de ballet, you're just standing in the back line. You'll learn one ballet, you know, and you're like fifth cast in the back line. So yeah, I mean, I didn't handle that very well. I kind of fell away and, you know, decided to just enjoy the city life a little bit too much.
I guess this is this happens to a lot of actually young dancers. I have to say I've seen it a lot around the world. That of course you train at school. You know, you are at a great technical level. You think you want as well to be doing, well, let's say more important parts. And then you come to the company. You're like, yeah, finally I got my chance. You know, and then you stand somewhere in the back holding that thing, doing a waltz or soutenir, and then
You're like, really?
obviously it's quite easy to get discouraged very quickly too, and then you think like, why did I wasted all this time and effort if I'm just gonna do that? So yeah, it takes a lot of dedication and effort to get past it.
Yeah, it does a lot.
So okay, so you joined Pacific Northwest Ballet. This is how I know it's a great company, but there is still a road to be made. I mean, becoming the principal dancer, it's still, you know, it takes a lot of work and dedication. It doesn't happen from one day to another. How did it happen? How long did it take?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was still quite a challenge. It was great. When I joined the company, I started learning a principal role on my third day in the company.
Immediately?
You know? Yeah.
Wow.
And so for me, like coming straight out of the corps de ballet from ABT, never, you know, not doing anything, to suddenly like, hey, now you're doing a pas de deux with the prima ballerina of the company.
Oh,
you know,
oh.
Which wasn't by design, but you know, I was learning this pas de deux. I was like fourth or fifth cast, something like that. And then there, you know, a couple of guys got injured, and they were like, you got to do it. You know, so there I was up on the stage doing a pas de deux with the prima ballerina.
Wow.
You know, and
that
I mean,
would do it.
Yeah, but I was cast in that, you know, to learn it like fourth cast or something like that on my third day in the company. So
Still, it's impressive.
yeah, it was great. So just suddenly this wall of pressure was like, oh, that I hadn't felt since I was in school, you know. So you know, it was a big learning curve. You know, getting that confidence back. I think one of the things that kind of really killed me in New York was my confidence. Just feeling like, okay, I'm nobody. I'm in the back. I'm not doing anything. I'm not worth anything. So yeah, I had to build my confidence back a little bit.
It's definitely something to work on. I think, I presume many young aspiring dancers will be watching this interview and thinking, okay, I also want to be, of course everybody wants to be the top dancer. What do I have to do? What is that thing that is different in them? It's not necessarily just the technique. It's a certain kind of confidence, mindset that you have to develop over time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that was one of the things. Kent Stoll and Francia Russell, the directors at the time, they were great people, and you know, we had some tough times, but they taught me a lot about what it really means to become a principal dancer. Because when you're a young kid, you think, oh, I can jump and I can turn and I can do all this fabulous stuff.
And
you
I'm
know?
principal, yeah.
Yeah, you know, so I should be a principal. You know, they were like, wait.
Yeah. There is ways
A principal
to go.
dancer is a lot more than just being able to jump and turn. You know, they really taught me step by step responsibility, acting, partnering, taking care of your, you know, being a role model, all of those things, you know. And so it was a real learning process. It was a good process. I was in the corps de ballet for about 4 years there, so it was a good amount of time.
Okay.
And in that time, I was learning principal and soloist roles. But you know, in that company, they were like, you know, you do your time.
you do your dues. Yeah.
Yeah, do your dues, and in the end, you'll be rewarded. And they did. They were good on their word. You know, if you do your dues, you put in your time, you put in the work, you try to become the complete package, then you'll be a principal. And once you're a principal, you know, then you get to really, then you've earned that right.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. But
so,
still, it took some time.
Yeah, it was
but I can imagine it was nerve-wracking, no, when you were standing first time with the prima ballerina on stage doing a duet. I mean,
oh my gosh.
You can say that you were cool. I do not believe that. Come on.
I played pretty cool, but it was pretty nerve-wracking.
Come on. Nobody is cool in that situation. I've been there too. It's not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, but it's worth it. I mean, it's trial by fire. You know, that's
course.
how you learn.
But that comes down to that self-confidence. You know, like you have to have that in you, and you have to be that fighter.
Yeah.
If you don't fight and you don't fight yourself, because that's what you've done your whole life. You were fighting yourself. You were fighting that timid kid that was barely able to speak, to communicate on stage, bring emotions and all that. But it takes a tremendous amount of fight in a person to change yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not just in ballet, it's everywhere, anything you do in life.
Yeah. Well, I think people find that spark, you know, and for me it was ballet, you know. That was that spark that sort of, that just suddenly, that cracked the door open, and then from there it was just a matter of just opening it all the way. But you know, if you can find that little spark, that little something that can just help propel you forward, even if it's just a little bit, all you need is that little bit, and that can just send you forward if you find something that you're really passionate about.
So what does ballet mean for you?
Well, I mean, now it's my life, you know. I've spent over 30 years of my life, 30 of the 43 years I've been on this planet, I've been doing ballet for 33 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, now it's my life. It's all of my closest friends, you know, my colleagues, my network, my professional network, my girlfriend, you know.
Okay.
Ballet, it's my life, you know.
It's your world.
Yeah, it's my world. It's where I live. It's, you know, and after I retired from dance, I was like, should I, you know, do I want to go outside?
Yeah, something different.
And it was very tempting because I want to learn about the world. Unfortunately, you know, ballet is very consuming. When you're a ballet dancer and you're studying ballet, you know, it takes up all your time and energy.
Yeah, it's not a part-time job.
Yeah, it's not. And so when I retired, I was kind of like, you know, I love history, I love psychology, I love reading about economics, I love technology, I love all of these things. And I thought, okay, well, now I'm out of ballet, so maybe I can really have some time now to fully indulge and explore in them. And I thought, then I'll come back to ballet. So
you needed that little bit of off to get back on, basically.
Yeah.
And you're still here in Amsterdam. I mean, actually, that's what we didn't talk about. I mean, you got here.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in Amsterdam after all. We talked about Pacific Northwest Ballet and all that stuff. You know, like
the big part's coming.
Okay, the big part is coming. That's. But how did you make the leap then from here, from Pacific Northwest to here?
Yeah, I was enjoying my life one morning as I did in Seattle, and suddenly my phone rang, and I was like, hello, you know, and it was Ted Branson, the artistic director of the Dutch National Ballet, and I thought, oh, okay, wait.
Oh, wake up.
You know? Yeah, he was just like, you know, I heard that you're a really nice dancer, you're tall, you can partner really well, we're looking for somebody like you, and he was like, would you like to come and guest with the company? And if you're interested, maybe come and join the company as a principal dancer. And I was like, wow, okay. You know, I wasn't expecting that at all. But it really brought up this question inside of me, you know, because I was very happy in Seattle. I had a nice apartment, and, you know, good salary, good city, lots of friends, 2 motorcycles, you know. I was very happy. I was very comfortable.
So you didn't want to move?
I had no intention of moving. I was thinking to myself, I'm going to spend the rest of my career here. I'll retire from Pacific Northwest Ballet. Yeah, it was good. And it's a great company. I mean, I recommend anybody around the world who's looking for a nice company to check out Pacific Northwest Ballet. It's a phenomenal company. But at the same time, it's also kind of isolated. It's out in Seattle, you know, and it's not in the center of Europe, you know. The Dutch National Ballet is one of the premier ballet companies of the world. And so it's just a much bigger stage, so to say, you know. And I had to think to myself, am I ready to be here and just stay comfortable and finish out my career, or do I really want to push and go back into the big stage sort of? It's almost like coming back to ABT in a way.
Having that extra challenge in your life.
It's a big company. There's a lot of press around it. You're right in the center of Europe. I was like, okay, do I want to go back to that atmosphere, but this time I'm going to be at the top. And I thought, ooh, you know, it wasn't really, in the end, I was like, oh, there's no much choice. I have to do this. You know, I'm not ready to settle down and be comfortable
You owned
yet.
it to yourself in a way.
Yeah, and I always wanted to live in another country and experience what it's like to live in Europe. I love Europe. Before I moved here, I'd traveled here a few times, and I just love Europe. It's great to visit, great to live in, you know. So yeah, I was like, here we go. You know, I got to do this. So I came to Amsterdam and danced on this stage, you know.
Yeah, it's enormous.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we can't see it now, but it's, yeah, wow.
Lots of great people. I mean, lots of great choreographers. I mean, when you dance in the Dutch, you know as well as anybody,
I know.
when you dance
I'm
in the
still
Dutch National Ballet,
here,
you're going to work with every choreographer on the planet. You're going to work with lots of great guest teachers. You know, you're in the center of the ballet world.
So you think that's actually key is very much where you are, right? Does technology change that nowadays, a little bit at least, or it's starting to change that?
Yeah, well, that's another interesting point because on one hand, when I was growing up in Salt Lake City, you know, of course I was in a very privileged city. We had a good ballet company. We had all that stuff. But on the other hand, this was back in the 1980s. I'm really dating myself. You only had print magazine. And so once a month you'd get Dance Magazine, and that kind of was all the information you got about what was happening around the ballet world. So being in Salt Lake City was extremely isolating. I didn't know what was happening with the Paris Opera, or nowadays, you know, even if you're somebody who lives in Bolivia, you can get on the internet and find out what's happening with every ballet company in the world, the casting, and now you can even watch performances online.
True.
And so, yeah, technology is really breaking down that barrier. We've already seen that somewhat, and we're going to see that accelerate a lot here in the near future.
And do you see a position of Ballet Rising within that scheme?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What and which way? I'm guessing that you have more plans. We touched upon it a little bit in the beginning of our conversation, that you want to position Ballet Rising, well, more than just a bunch of interviews and articles and online content. So could you tell us a little bit more about your future plans with Ballet Rising, if you can? I don't know.
Sure, yeah. Well, we don't have any definite plans yet. Right now, we're just really focusing on what we're doing right now. But I think there's just a million possibilities with what you can do with Ballet Rising. Something that's always bothered me is that it's really unfortunate because, you know, the arts don't really do that much to advocate for the art form and to really help people outside of their area, you know. So the Dutch National Ballet really only works in the Netherlands. The Paris Opera Ballet really only focuses on Paris. Same thing with New York City Ballet. I always felt there should be some kind of organization that really advocated for art and for dance and for ballet in communities and societies around the world. Someone who could go beyond the mandate of the Dutch National Ballet to say, okay, you know, communities somewhere around the world, this is what's good about ballet, this is why communities should support it and things like that. And well, so I think I don't want to say like a FIFA of ballet, but, you know, some kind of organization that can really...
But isn't UNESCO kind of, well, supposed to do that in a way?
A little bit. I mean, they advocate for dance, and they're really trying to do that a little bit, but I really want to focus specifically on ballet. And I want to go to these places and really speak to the people and really help them build their communities and schools and use my network to connect them.
So you want to have a direct impact on their lives. So you want to... what would be the first thing you would improve? Like, what do you think would have the biggest impact for them right now?
I think just some recognition.
Recognition?
Yeah, you know, if you're like, you know, I'm working a lot with the Association of Ballet Teachers of Nigeria.
Okay,
and
wow.
this is one of the things that was really like, wow, this is so cool. And I think more people around the world should know what they're doing. This is basically a group of people in Nigeria who have individually, separately from each other, found ballet on the internet and decided that they really enjoy it and that they love it. And so they've taken it upon themselves to learn ballet via YouTube. None of them have ever even taken ballet classes. They learned off the internet from YouTube. And then they started their own ballet schools.
That's so crazy.
And so they've formed the Association of Ballet Teachers of Nigeria, and they're trying to bring ballet teachers and professionals to come to Nigeria to teach real ballet class and teach the teachers how to teach ballet. And you know, there's just such an abundance of passion for dance and life, and you can see it, and they're expressing it through ballet. And so I think that it just helps a tremendous amount just by showing the world that they're there, that they're doing what they're doing, because now you see it, you know, the young boy and people around the world are going, oh, that's great, you know, and so now we know about it. And so now, you know, I think recently Harlequin Floors sent a floor to the Leap of Dance Academy in Nigeria. And so now the global community can support them. And so the whole idea was just recognizing that they're there and saying, hey, we're here. Yeah. And then everyone can do what we need to do to help.
I remember I saw in an interview with the boy later on, I don't know which channel it was. I suppose he was on every channel pretty much after that.
Yeah.
But I mean, he got a scholarship, right?
Yeah.
In the US, I don't...
I can't remember where, yeah, he got a scholarship somewhere.
I'm guessing. Mm-hmm. And he was heartbroken about leaving home.
Can imagine.
And, you know, like you would think maybe he should be, in a way, happy, you know, like to get the opportunity to go, to get a scholarship and go to the US and study, you know. But I think they have a certain kind of attachment with the family, with the community around themselves, which is extremely, extremely strong.
Yeah.
And which we are almost losing here in Europe now. You know, we are all kind of doing our business, and the bigger the city, the worse it becomes almost, in a way. And you see, like in Africa, they have that genuine love for each other. And yeah, I find it absolutely amazing that they just study ballet by watching YouTube. I've been in ballet for, what, the last 30 plus years. And I still feel almost underqualified in a certain way within myself. Like, I feel insecure in certain ways, you know, like about my knowledge of ballet, and of course. But I think this kind of trying to make a change, helping people, we should all do a little bit more of that. Because we can all have a voice. We can all have that little contribution, that all little bit, that one pair of pointe shoes, that 1 hour of your time to talk to people or to teach over social media or something. I think it can go a long way, perhaps.
And I think everybody wants to help. Like, you know, it didn't take much for Harlequin Floors to go, oh my gosh, hey, that's great, you know. Wow. And everybody in the ballet community wants to help. And so that's why I think it's just a matter of just pointing out who they are. Say, hey, there's somebody doing this incredible thing in this country. And then once everybody knows who they are and where they are, they go, ah, great, let's help them.
So basically you want to point that flashlight.
Kind of, yeah, just give them
directions.
What I like to say is amplifying their voice. You know, all of them have a voice, but it's sometimes with all the noise around the world, it's hard to hear them. So what I want to do is take their voice and amplify it and say, hey, they're there. You know, let's work with them. Let's help them, and by helping them, we can help the whole global ballet community grow. You know, this is the other thing too. I don't like to see arts organizations around the world sort of fighting over scraps, you know, for resources, money. You know, we're all kind of like, oh, well,
there's never enough.
The arts budget is only so much big, and so everyone has to sort of fight over what's there. If we as a community, as a global community, a ballet community, come together and really advocate for the art form with a unified voice, we can all make the pie much bigger. And so it's not about fighting over the scraps, it's about making it bigger so that there's enough for everybody. And these people in Nigeria, the people in India, the people in Brazil, in the favelas, they all have a part in this, you know? They all are part of the community, and we can coordinate and work with them, and everyone can grow together.
Do you think it's really possible to achieve such a level of collaboration and understanding?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, because the desire is there. The desire is there. You know, when I talk to you know, famous choreographers like Alexei Ratmansky and Chris Wilden, when I talk to directors like Ted and Kevin and Mackenzie and Helgi Thomas, and when I talk to these people, they're all excited and ready to help and do what they can to help the art form thrive and to help other artists who want to become a part of this. Everyone wants to do it. And so, I mean, they want to do it, we want to do it. It's just a matter of sort of forming the connection and figuring out who's who, and then everything falls into place.
But at the moment, in many of those societies, I mean, the situation is that there are, well, they don't really even have companies to accommodate the artists.
Not yet.
Not yet. So raising artists is going to be more of an export than
probably in the beginning.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and you see this a lot. Everyone, you know, a lot of the dancers and people that I've spoken to in these places, you know, there's a lot of people who would love the opportunity to come to Europe and study and learn and grow and probably have a career. But I think everyone I've talked to, 100% of the people I've talked to, said that they eventually want to go back to their country and take what they've learned.
Okay.
And go back and form schools and companies and things like that. So it's really about just raising a generation of people, but they all want to go back to their countries. They love their countries. They love their societies. They love their cultures. They don't, you know, a lot of people don't want to leave their culture. They leave because they have to, you know. And people love Europe. I love Europe, you know, but you know, people want to go back home, and they want to start. They want to build ballet communities in their countries where they can be near their families and be in their societies. You know, it's yeah, everyone kind of, there's a sort of a common theme here, you know. We want to build ballet schools in our country, but we want to build them the proper way. You know, there's the other thing is you do see some ballet schools out there where it's like somebody who kind of wants to make a little bit of money, so they'll get a little dance studio and they'll plop the kids in the split and they'll be like, look, you're a ballet dancer, you know. What I've seen from all of the people that I'm working with is that they have an intense desire to teach the kids ballet, but to do it in a way that gives the kid an opportunity, so that if you're not just teaching them to do the splits, you're teaching the kid how to grow and giving the kid the opportunity to say, hey, if you really want, you can go and study in a major ballet school or get a job.
I see.
You know, and so it's about doing it the right way, the way that will give the kids a true opportunity and really provide value for the communities.
Okay. So where do you see yourself then, yourself? I'm guessing you want to build this project and grow, but perhaps there are also other ambitions for yourself that you have for the future. What are your plans?
Aha. Yeah, I mean, it's not a big secret, but you know, right now I just really like to focus on Ballet Rising, and Ballet Rising is still so new, and it still has so many potential possibilities of what it could grow into. But, you know, as a lot of people know, I recently received a grant from an organization called the Grant for the Web.
Oh, yeah, great.
And this is a grant that is designed to help develop a piece of technology called web monetization technology. And so I'm using all of the material that we're building for Ballet Rising to monetize and to help develop this technology. And I'm going to take that about 500 steps further in the future. And I have some big ambitions. Like right now, Ballet Rising is a cultural project, and it's going to stay a cultural project, but we're using some technology. I have also a technology project that I'm building. But, you know.
I understand.
That's coming.
It's still a secret.
Well, yeah, it's just kind of, it's half-baked right now. So I'm gonna keep developing it. There's a lot of exciting technologies that I think could really propel the performing arts into the 21st century and help a lot of communities and ballet companies and schools bridge the digital divide. But you know, we'll get into that in the future.
So still, you want to stay within the performing arts world and dance world?
Yeah, I'm staying in it.
You're not getting out of here?
No, not at this point.
Not that far anyways.
I'm a lifer.
Well, Casey, thank you very much for your time and a wonderful chat. And I wish you all the best in the future and Ballet Rising.
Cool, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's great to be back here and always great to see you, Joe. Bam.